All right, Mayor Bieter. Well, when you reflect back on the last 16 years, what's your biggest takeaway?
It's just been a great run. I wanted to be the mayor of my hometown since when I was little, and I got a chance to do that. And I tried to treat every day like the honor that it's been, and do everything I could to move the city forward. And I think we've been able to do that, and to do it this long is a great privilege, and I'm grateful for the citizens of Boise to allow me to do that.
You're the city's longest reigning mayor. You did a lot for this community. You were the mayor of the city over, such a time of change, 2003 to 2019. How did you handle all of this over the last 16 years? Because you had a lot on your plate.
Well, we had a early tough going because we had to restore confidence and faith in City Hall, and then we had a little momentum going then, and then the bottom fell out of the economy, and we had to deal with that. And we held up really better than a lot of cities, and then we've been able to really execute and do some really good things. I would have hoped I could do it a little longer, but very few elected officials get the kind of time I've had. I know a lot of mayors from around the country, and I only know a couple that have been able to serve longer than I am grateful for every day. I try to treat it like the privilege that it's been, and I think the results are out there, and I'm not going anywhere. I hope we can do even better going forward.
You spoke with McLean earlier tonight. Yeah. What was that conversation like?
Oh, just real short. Just congratulations, and we'll talk later. And I wish her well. And but we've got a couple weeks here anyway, and we can talk about what's next. But just a real short congratulations, and we'll talk some more later.
Clearly, there's some disappointment tonight, but your campaign was telling me that you're transitioning to a more positive outlook and more of a celebration, not just of what you did as mayor, but what the city's accomplished over the last 16 years. Tell me about that.
Oh, you can see here, these people are having fun, and they worked their tails off. They did everything they could, and I certainly did everything I could. In the end of the day, that's all you can do. But it transitioned fairly quickly to a celebration of the camaraderie from the campaign, but family and friends and people I've known for years. And I've look at this. Like I'm saying, it's still a festive kind of thing, and you kind of hope for that, and sure enough, that's what's happening. So that's great.
It's not really a secret that the last month was extremely contentious.
Oh yeah.
Would you have done anything differently if you were to go it again?
Oh gosh, no. Not in my 16 years, and not in this time. There's some important issues that I think we were able to bring forward. I'm very concerned about the issue of camps on public property, and I think we were able to bring that issue forward, and then and see what happens. But not at all. We had a great debate. Unfortunately, we had one of them. We had 5 requests for debates, and I had anticipated doing that where we could really talk about the issues one-on-one. But she went. She refused to do that. It was a tactic that might have worked, it might not have. It did. These are. I think there were currents going on in this election that really weren't about us individually as candidates and the issues. There are national currents that played out, and there's really nothing you can do about that in the end. You run on the issues and run on what you think the future ought to be. But if there's campaign people talk about the physics of a race. And I didn't want to hear that because those are things that you can't affect. But in the end, I think that there was truth to that, and I feel good because we worked harder than I've ever worked in the last 6 months. Our people did everything they could, and then you let it go because you've you've tried with everything you had, and then we'll see, what's in store next.
I know that there's a lot of stuff on the table that you're hoping to take care of, hoping to address next year, homelessness, all kinds of growth.
Yeah.
Do you have any interest in jumping back into politics in a different role, or are you okay to sit on the sidelines for a little bit?
Well, it's only been a couple hours here. I'm going to get some rest, spend some time with my family, and take a little time off. I have no idea what's next, and I didn't want to think about that. And, we'll start thinking about that over the next several days. But I'm a Boisean, and I want to see the city move forward. And I'll do everything I can to help that out, whatever that might be. But, it's probably going to be out of politics, at least for a while, and then we'll see what's next.
I know there's a lot of people that wanted to thank you tonight. They couldn't be here, and on both sides, even people that voted for Lauren. To the people of Boise, to the people of the Treasure Valley that you've served over the last 16 years, what's your message to them tonight?
Well, like I said, gratitude for the opportunity to serve and to be the mayor of my hometown. I got to get up every day, and my job was to try to make the city a better city, and that's the greatest good luck I could ever have for however long that lasted. Obviously, I want it to last a little longer. And I have some concerns about our, just our politics and some of the things going on, but I have nothing but gratitude for every day that I was able to serve, and I will take that with me forever. And I hope that people understand that, because that's what I want to leave. That's the greatest thing I can think of, and I've had longer run than most people ever get, and that's what I want. Like I said, what I want people to know, the gratitude I feel for them, and I think we left some really good things and some momentum on a lot of issues, and I want to see that go forward, and I'll do what I can to help that out.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
I appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah.